Hey, what's up, guys? I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of fluff. I really just want to give you like a 10-minute, 15-minute overview of how I actually got the bank to give me $1,000. They actually gave me $1,000 to buy a property. So I own this property, and instead of having to pay any kind of money, the bank literally said, "Here's $1,000 to put in your bank account. You own the property now, and you're making the money from the rent." So I'm going to walk you through that. I may mess up a few times because I'm going to try to do this without having to edit, but you should get the general gist. And if you don't, just comment below. Let me know what further questions you have, and I'd be happy to answer them. Like, this isn't a kind of secret that I want to hold close to my vest. I really like to help people when it comes to investing in properties. And I think this is a really great way to get started. But people don't believe me when I say this. So I'm like, let me walk you through it and let me help you understand. The first thing you need to understand is that you do need some kind of money in order to get into this. And don't let that turn off the video right here, because there's a couple ways you can do that. One is your sphere of influence. So the people that you know, like your grandpa, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your friends, people that you met in school, people you met in college, if you can show them that there's a good deal out there, a lot of times there's people out there that you know that have money. You just don't know they have money. And if you can show them that there's a good deal, they'll back you. Sometimes they just don't want to do the work themselves. So if they have somebody who's willing to do the work, they're willing to give you the money. So I like to tell everybody, talk to property investing or whatever you plan on doing with everybody that you come in contact with, because you never know who, one, might be in it, but then two, might want to invest in you. They see your potential and they want to invest in you. Two, there's always opportunity of buying it as a FHA property. So if you buy something that doesn't need a ton of work, but you can see that there's value there, you only need 3.5% down. And in some areas, 3.5% down is only a couple $1,000s. I know that's a lot of money for some people, but hey, if we can scrape together money every day to go buy a $5 Starbucks drink, I think we can save some money over the year and really scrape together a payment for an FHA loan. So, and maybe it's not in the area that you live, but maybe you have to move in order to do it. But generational wealth is like a serious thing. So, I live in Colorado, but I buy some properties in Kansas because they're a little bit cheaper there. So, just that's a consideration. And then the last thing is hard money loans. So, like I said in the first thing, if you can prove that the deal you're looking at is a good deal, there are lenders out there that will give you money for 6 months for you to buy the property, rehab it, and then pay them back. Sometimes they make you pay a little bit of money up front. Sometimes they make you pay money on the back end. It just depends on who you find. But there are ways to get property. So don't think that, like, me showing you how to do this, your first thought is, I can't do it because I don't have any money. You can find money, but it's just, are you going to hustle hard enough to find it, and are you really going to give it a legit shot? Are you just going to try a couple people, and when you strike out, you're done? So that's my 2 cents on that. So let's jump into how I got the bank to pay me. So a lot of you guys have heard the BRRRR method. If you haven't, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So I did the BRRRR method, and what I did is I bought a duplex. If I can get my pen to work, I bought a duplex in Kansas for $30,000. And the reason, duplex is two sides. The reason I bought this duplex is because I went and looked up comps. So comps are comparable properties, and I found that comps in the area were going anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000, depending on how well they were doing. This property needed a little bit of work, so I asked before I purchased my property manager, what did he think you could get the property repaired for? And he thought he could get it done for $3,000 a side. So we're talking a little bit of paint, some flooring, some appliances, fixing broken windows, and updating the outside a little bit. So we were able to get the $6,000 to stretch a very long ways. If you can find some really good people in your corner, you can get a little bit of money to go a long ways. Hiring, contractors and subcontractors, sometimes you don't get that kind of deal. So, work on building up your network too. So I bought it for $30,000 cash. I spent $6,000 in rehab, so I'm all in this property for $36,000. Now, at this point in time, the rehab is done. So, what do we need to do next? Is we need to rent. We're able to rent out each side for $400. So, this is a big deal because there's called the 1% rule, the 2% rule. It just depends on the area you live in. How it works is, if you can get 1% or 2% of the sales price of a property, you are doing very well. 1% is pretty good. 2% is like unheard of. Most likely, it's just some kind of crazy deal that you came across. And most likely, unless it's just like a war zone, like meaning it's in the middle of the hood and it's getting shot at every day, or there's a chance that it's going to get lit up in an arson case, it's a good deal. So 1% of the $36,000 would be 360. And then I'm going to do some quick math, and 2%, and I might be wrong, should be 720. I was getting 800 total. So I exceeded the 2% rule. So right off the bat, I was doing good, even if I wasn't able to refinance this property. What I did is once I got it rented, but I wanted to refinance, and the reason is because I used my cash. Now that sounds crazy, but I have a HELOC, and that's another story, and I can walk you guys through that. But I used the HELOC to buy this and to repair this, and I wanted that money back because I had to pay that HELOC back. So I went to the bank and I said, "Hey, I have this property. I think it's worth X because I've seen the comparables. Would you guys be willing to lend on it?" So they said, "Give us the leases. That's where the rent comes in." So I gave them the leases. They went and looked at the property, they looked at the comparables, and they came back and said, "Hey, Jeremy, we can give you $50,000 for your duplex. But there's the catch. The catch is we can only give you 85% of that because we want to have some equity in the game." So, meaning if for some reason I can't pay the bank and they have to go and sell it, and they have to sell it really quickly to get their money back, because the bank, essentially what they're doing when they give you a loan is paying off whoever you owe money to, and then they hold that note. So they actually own the note on your house, and you keep paying them. So technically you own your house, but as soon as you fuck up and you stop paying them, then that's when they're going to come for it. But they want equity in the house. So they're not going to give you the full 50% or the full 50K. They're only going to give you part of the 50K. So when they go to sell it, they have a little bit of a leeway in case they have to sell it for less than what it was worth when they gave you the loan. So hopefully that makes sense. So they said they can only give me 80% of its value. So what that means is on that $50,000 loan, technically they can only give me $40,000 because that's 80%. At least I think it's 80% off of head math. So they're willing to give me a loan for $40,000 on this property. So what happens is the bank agrees to the loan, I agree to the terms, and at that point in time, then we go $36,000 is what I'm all in the property for. They're going to value the property at $50,000, but they're only going to give me a loan for 40. So this was a negative. This is a plus $40,000. I ended up making $4,000 on that deal. So this amount of money right here, once it was all said and done, I owned this duplex renting out at $800, and I was also getting $4,000 back. So I had no more money left in the deal. It was literally, I got paid $4,000. The reason I say I ended up with about $1,000 is because I paid different fees. So I had a carrying cost for the HELOC, which was a couple $100 to $1,000. I had loan cost, which was probably about $1,000. So in reality, I ended up somewhere with around like 1,800 bucks. But all said and done, I got paid in order to carry this property. And so what a lot of people do is they do this strategy. They buy a duplex, maybe in the Midwest, maybe if you have more money, do it in Colorado, do it in California. It's just how much money do you need to put together in order to do a deal like this? And so the Midwest just made sense for me because I could do it cash without having to like go in and do too many other things. If I try to do it out here in Colorado, it costs me an arm and a leg. It can still be done. It's just a lot harder to do. So found that property, got it rented out. I was cash flowing. My loan on that property, to give you some numbers, is $475 a month. That includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So PITI is what it's called. I also have property management with this additional 10%. So that's $80. I'm going to make myself do a lot of math here. So forgive me, this is going to be really rough math. So that's like $555 that I'm all in the property for. The tenants pay the water, the tenants pay the trash. So uh, then you have $800 what I make in rent minus 555, which really sucks to do math like that. So that's like $245 a month in cash flow. And so normally how you calculate cash flow is you take the number that you make in a month, you times it by 12, and then that gives you your overall yearly number. You take your yearly number, you divide it by how much money you have in the deal, and that'll give you your return on investment. Because I have $0 in the deal, my return on investment is exponential because I don't have any money in this deal. Every time I get paid, I am technically getting paid this every single month, and I'm paying down my principal. So my principal, it's the P part of my PITI. And then when I go to sell the property, any equity, so any value of property above the loan amount. So my loan amount is $40,000, right? So any value above that is money in my pocket. So I can tell you right now, the crazy thing is I actually have this property listed for sale because I'm looking to move into something else now that I've owned it for a few years. This property is currently going to get anywhere between 90 to, on the low end, $80,000. So I have doubled the amount of money. So by the time I pay back my loan, I should make about 40,000 plus on this deal. So I went from buying a property all cash, fixing it up. They give me that number. Then I went to the bank and they give me that. Then you come down and know that I made $4,000 on this entire deal, not to include how much I'm making per month, which is $245 per month on cash flow. And then 3 years later, I'm selling that same property. Not only will I have that $4,000 that I made, the $245 that I made every single month, but I'll also make about $40,000 in equity. So I can go and do this again. So like I said, guys, this is just a quick overview. I wanted you guys to see how it's done. People don't believe me. There are still properties out there like this, maybe not in Kansas, but in other states. I did it a state or two away, so I know it can be done. If you have questions, please comment below. I'd love to answer them, but that's how you buy a property and actually get paid to do it.